Sunflower. How are you today? So you asked for a video on how to make canned ground beef. So that's what we're going to do today. Wash your hands, grab an apron, and I'll meet you in the kitchen. Okay, Sunflower. Well, Dad's in the kitchen with us today. Say hi.
Hi.
So we're going to start canning ground beef. So step one is to cook your ground beef. Okay, while you're cooking your meat, we're using 2 pans because there's 2 of us and it goes faster. You also want to put on a pot of water to boil because you're going to need that boiling water in the jars when we start to pack. Okay, we'll be back. Next, when your meat is done, you're going to want to strain the juices off of it and then pour it into another bowl to keep to the side to keep hot while you cook the batches. Also, while your meat is cooking, you need to make sure your jars are clean and fill them with boiling water so that they're good and hot when we get ready to pack the jars. Okay, welcome back. So, our jars are hot, our meat is cooked and drained, and we have hot water. And I'm going to show you how to pack the jars. So, you can choose to put salt in the bottom of the jars if you would prefer. However, I choose not to put salt in them because if you use them for taco seasoning, then the taco seasoning has a lot of salt in it. So I just can them without salt in them. Also, we're canning in, these are hot pint jars because it's just me and Dad. You may want to can in quart jars, and I'll give you the extra information for that. So what you're going to do is you're going to put it in your funnel, and let's use this one that's closer. You're going to pack your meat into the jar. Remember, hot jars, hot food, hot water, hot canner means hot pack. So we are hot packing the ground beef. We got a little bit much in that one. Hot, 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 hot. So, you want your meat in the jars to be here, below this lip on the jar. Hot. Burning my fingers. Then the next step in the process, once you get the meat in the jar, is you're going to fill it with water up to that place that I showed you on the jar. Can you grab the lids, please? And the vinegar and paper towel. This is pretty cool. Wish he was here more often. Okay. Then we're going to take our debubbler and we're going to put it down. Let me set the jar over here so you can see what I'm doing. Ow. We're going to press that down into the jar to make sure all the air bubbles are out because they will displace the water. So we want to make sure the water level is correct. So as you can see, the water level is at that ring. Then we're going to take a paper towel with a little bit of vinegar on it. It's important to use vinegar because vinegar cuts fat. And if there's fat on the lip of the jar, then the lid will not seal. So you're going to wipe the top of the ring off, the lip of the jar with vinegar real good. Then you're going to put your flat and your ring. And you're going to only put it on with your fingers. You don't want to tighten it down with your whole hand because that will cause the lid to warp and it won't seal. So you just want to tighten it with your fingers. And then it will go into the hot canner. So in the can, my canner requires 3 quarts of water to function properly. So there are 3 quarts of boiling water in the canner right now. So we're going to go ahead and finish packing these jars and we'll show you what else to do next. Okay, we're back. We ended up with 10 jars from 8 pounds of ground beef. So we have the stove back here on about medium high, and Dad's fixing to put the lid on. Okay. And then we're going to wait for the steam vent. Remember, we did this in the canning potato video. There'll be a large plume of steam coming out of here, and we'll be back when that happens. So this is a bowl of the fat and juice that was drained off of the ground beef when we cooked it. Now we buy ground round, so it has less fat than ground chuck because we get ours from a grass-fed butcher. But what are you going to do this? Well, what I do with it is I put it in the refrigerator, and then tomorrow I'll scoop off all of that beautiful fat that's on there, and I'll save that. It's called tallow. Not technically, but they still call it tallow. And use that to make homemade soap with, and then the beef juice in the bottom can be used to make like a beef broth, or you can save it in the freezer and use it to make dog food. What? You don't know how to make dog food? Don't worry, I'll show you how in an upcoming video. We'll be right back. Okay, we're not venting yet, but we're almost there. Can you see the steam coming out? Yep, and we're waiting on that to pop up, and the little bubble on the back there, right there, to pop up all the way. But I wanted to add a safety note in here. When you're pressure canning, your canner is hot. It is hot. And I would like to show you what happens if you're not careful. So this happened yesterday. Dad accidentally touched the canner as he was moving through the kitchen while we were canning. So just remember, the canner is extremely hot, so be careful. All right, we'll be back. Okay, now we're venting. That's hot. I don't know if you can see it or not. It's hard to see it on the camera, but this is venting. You can hear it. That button is all the way up, and so is that button. So now we're going to set a timer for 10 minutes. It's important to let it vent for 10 minutes because it pushes all the air, the steam pushes all the air out through this vent. Because the only thing we want in there is steam. That's how we can preserve low acid foods for long-term storage. So we're going to set a timer, and in 10 minutes we'll be back. Okay, and we're back. We're almost at 13. It's just about to hit there. So I'm going to turn my heat down a little because we need to maintain 13 pounds of pressure for 90 minutes for meat. So this includes ground beef or roast or chicken, any venison, buffalo, anything that you can that's meat. We need to maintain that pressure, 13 pounds of pressure, for 90 minutes, an hour and a half. Just keep an eye on it every few minutes, like 10 minutes or so, come and check. If it's went up above 13, don't panic, it's okay. Just turn your heat down a little bit and it'll calm back down to 13. Just don't let it go below. So we gotta keep an eye on it, make sure that we keep it at 13 or above. All right, we'll be back. Okay, here we are. The timer is about to go off. There it goes. We were able to maintain 13 pounds of pressure for the entire hour and 30 minutes. So now what we do is turn off the stove. Now, we are not going to touch anything on the canner. We're just going to let it sit here and cool down. If you remove the weight or open the lid, then you will have siphoning, which means the liquid will come out of the jars. So we want to reduce siphoning as much as possible. So this canner will sit here until the morning, just like it is. As you can see, I'm canning at night because I like to can meat the last thing in the evening. And then that way in the morning, it's all ready for me to open the canner and I don't have to worry about siphoning. Okay, we'll see you in the morning. Okay, it's the next morning, 6:49 a.m. here in the lovely state of Nevada. And we're gonna pull this lid off. As you can see, the canner is cool and I can touch it. Nothing is popped up and nothing comes out when I take off the weight. So we're going to pull the lid off. right. And as you can see, they're still bubbling because they're still warm. And they are sealed. So, we'll take these out and set them on the cabinet. And I'll get you a final picture here in just a minute. All right, there they are. Our beautiful jars of ground beef. Still bubbling away because they're still warm. And then once these stop bubbling and they're completely cooled off, I'll wash the jars off with some warm soapy water and check the seals, and then we'll label them and put them in storage. All right, go out there and can you some ground beef. Get you stocked up in your pantry.